If you're an agent, you've probably found yourself recommending paint contractors quite often. And if you sell older homes, you've likely had to provide lead paint disclosures. But here's something you may not know. While there may be toxins lurking in older homes, new homes are not free of toxins either. And I don't say this to scare you, just to give you some resources if you have clients worried about these things. The good news, certain sealers can mitigate these toxins. So imagine if your clients are worried about lead paint, or maybe they have family members with asthma or chronic health conditions. Wouldn't it be helpful to have a resource to recommend that can solve this issue instead of just brushing it under the rug or having to choose a different home? Well, I've just got the solution for you here. Today, I have Jay Watts from AFM Safecoat. They're a San Diego-based company that has been in business for more than 40 years, and they are the leader in no VOC paints and sealers. So if you're an agent who is looking for ways to stand out and be more valuable to your clients, and if you're looking for reasons to call and connect past clients, then you're going to want to stay tuned because this episode is going to give you some great new information that you can share that's going to showcase your care and your expertise for everything home. Let's grow. Welcome to the Real Estate Marketing Podcast, where we explore a unique strategy no one is talking about that will enable you to engage more people with authentic conversations about your business more often. And it's called Wellness Real Estate. Not sure what that is or how it can help you as an agent? Well, that's what this podcast is all about. In fact, Wellness Real Estate is growing so rapidly that it is projected to be nearly $870 billion by 2027. I'm Sheila Alston, and I'm your host. I'm also the founder of Healthy Home Media, where I help agents all over the country leverage this new trend in the industry to spark new conversations that will get people to listen to you and notice your brand. So if you're tired of spinning your wheels without any leads or sales to show for it, then stay tuned. I guarantee this podcast is not like any you've heard before. Welcome to the Wellness Real Estate Podcast. Hi, I'm so excited. I've got Jay Watts here, and he is the founder of AFM Safecoat. And so I'm just excited to learn about VOCs and all of his products and how they help people live safer in their own homes. So welcome, Jay.
Thanks, Sheila, for having me on the show. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So you opened up the Pandora's box.
I know. I know. And I am just excited to learn more about VOCs because I know that a lot of people don't think they're a big deal. Then there's the people that are scared of them. And so I just want to bring awareness to the fact that in our homes, the home environment matters, and we're kind of creating this toxic soup with everything we bring into our home environment. And that there's a lot of different elements to help remove some of these toxins so that if you are living with chronic conditions or you have asthma or something, that there's solutions out there to kind of help. How is it? It's like, I feel like our immune systems are this cup, and if it's really full, then you can get chronic diseases. So if you can just kind of remove some of those toxins, then you're helping your immune system function better, right?
You're right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So just kind of a little brief background. AFM's been in business for many, many decades now. We're almost approaching 40 years, and a lot of people are, wow, 40 years. Mm-hmm. I think what's really important is the story we have about that. So back in the day, the original founder of AFM was working out of Riverside, California, and he was a paint manufacturer, which basically meant that if you wanted him to make any kind of coating, as long as it complied with our air quality management district, which here in Southern California is called South Coast Air Quality Management. As long as you complied with their rules, you can make any coating you want, oil, water, and any other kind of in between. And so he spent the bulk of his career making paint and sealers and coatings. And of course, there wasn't the awareness about the chemical exposures. It was basically, what does it have to do? And how much is it going to cost? Mm-hmm. And so he was making all these different products, and over time, with his exposures and his employees' exposures to these chemicals, they started getting sick. And he got as a matter of fact, very sick. And back in that day, there wasn't any awareness about environmental illness or chemical sensitivity. So if you woke up one day feeling terrible and didn't understand why. You went to your doctor, and the doctor wouldn't be able to understand the symptoms enough to say, well, we can't really figure this out. Maybe in an interview with the patient, they may say, well, I work in this environment where I'm constantly smelling these things. I'm constantly exposed. Or, an ammonia truck tipped over outside my house, and I got this cloud of chemicals that hit me. And now, days, weeks, months later, I'm starting to feel the effects of that. So he was having those symptoms, and turning to his physicians, there was no answer. And back then, it was like, oh, you're maybe you should see your psychologist or psychiatrist. It might be a mental problem you're suffering from. And I want to say right now that, as a holistic system that we are, it is mind and body. So he had to turn somewhere. There's a clinic in Dallas, Texas called the American Environmental Health Clinic. And out there, what they do is they treat people who have had an exposure, either occupational, as his was, or accidental. So he went to the clinic. They did a full analysis of what his body was suffering from. They gave him a protocol to go back home and start changing the way he was doing things. And he did that. He came back to California and said, guys, everybody, heads up. I'm sick. You guys are taking sick leave, and I think I have a reason why. We want to cut that out. So let's get into the lab. Let's start reformulating these things. And what are we going to do? We're going to go and look at the shelf, and we're going to see paint, primers, stains, sealers. We're just going to start going down the line and trying to improve those formulations. Who's asking me to do that? I don't have a market yet.
Right.
I think there may be a market, but I don't know yet. But I know that I've got to do it better for myself and for you, all of you here. So that's basically how we got started. And one at a time, one product at a time, we broke it down. What's bad in there? Well, how do I know what's bad? Well, my doctor in Dallas told me what's bad. So I can start removing those ingredients and replacing them with safer ones. Well, how are we going to know if it works or not? Well, I actually had some conversations when I was in Dallas with some of the patients that were there, and I asked them very kindly if they wouldn't mind being our canaries in the coal mine. And of course, I'm sure there was a lot of resistance, a lot of fear. What do you mean? You want me to breathe stuff again so I can stay sick? That's not making any sense. But thankfully, there were some patients there that said, yeah, we're willing to do that. So he comes to California. He starts reformulating. He gets little samples. He finds his people, the canaries. He sends them out, and they try them. He tells them what to do. When people are testing for chemicals in your environment, one of the things you can do, which I call a safe test, and I would say this is categorically true for any product that anyone's thinking about bringing into their home. All right, because you can get on the internet, and a lot of things that are good about the internet. There's a lot of wisdom there, but there's also a lot of scary stuff there too. So the best way to test something is to read everything you can, educate yourself as best you can. But then at the end of that, you want to get samples of things so that you can then try them for yourself. Our immune systems are very good at warding off invaders. We're all different. Your immune system's a little different than my immune system, and it's just categorically true for everyone on the planet. So we want to make sure that these chemicals we're introducing are chemicals that our body specifically are able to manage well. Right? People ask me, they say, I'm not chemically sensitive, and I have to correct them. And I said, listen, everyone on the planet is. Our immune systems have been able to manage that. What we don't want to do is we want to keep pushing the envelope until we get to a point where the immune system can't manage it any longer. And that's what chemical sensitivity is.
Right.
Imagine your body's like a big barrel, right? And as you start to load it up with chemicals, at some point it will get to the top of the barrel, and then when it tips over, then you're suffering from the symptoms, and it's a place we don't want to go, because once you're there, then you've got to back up enough, and keep yourself away from it enough so that your immune system can rebalance itself.
Well, that really is so important to think of it that way, because I think people are like, I've been doing this for 30, 40 years and I've never had a problem. They don't realize that they've been slowly filling up that barrel. Right.
Yep. And it can and will catch up with you.
Yes.
And I think about, when you say that, I think about the contractors who are, using their products forever and ever and ever, and not really recognizing that depending on their immune system's robustness, they're poisoning themselves. And at some point, that's going to catch up to them. When I talk to contractors who have been hired by a client who's aware, and they're saying, hey, we want you to substitute what you're currently using for these other products that we found, my products and many others that are really great out there. And there's a lot of fear on the contractor side. And, I understand contractors get really good at bidding a job based on the products they know. They also know that they're not going to have to return to a site if something goes wrong because they've got a long history. That's one of the fears they have is, oh man, I might have to come back if it doesn't go right. And then they also want to say, hey, I don't know your product, so therefore I can't guarantee my work. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. There's nothing really exotic about these. They work and perform just like the other products that you're used to. You just need to take a little time to step back and read is what you can, get some samples, play a little bit. But I can tell you, there's nothing difficult about using these products. And in fact, that was part of the point. Point one, we got to make it safe. But point two, it's got to work like the stuff everyone's used to.
Right. Well, because I think that they think that, especially for if you're used to oil-based paint, because that's going to, last a really long time. If you're going to get something that's not oil-based and it's environmental friendly, they just assume that it's not going to, you're going to have to repaint it all the time. It's not going to wear as well as something that's an oil-based paint.
Yeah, in the early days, that was kind of true because as the products evolved from different companies, there was some limitations in what could be done. And in many cases, that was probably true, but that was 30 years ago.
Okay.
Now there's been such an incredible evolution in the architectural coatings business. And of course, back in the old day, we were one of the two or three companies in the country that were doing what we're doing. But as time went on and awareness grew, people recognized that maybe this was not a good thing to do using these toxic products. That awareness then woke up the industry at large. And, all the big brands now will carry paint, quote unquote, zero VOC safe paint, which leads us into the discussion of VOC.
Right. So, but before you go there, I'm curious to know about the previous owner, like in his health journey and what happened kind of after he changed some of these formulations with him and the employees.
Yeah. Well, things improved dramatically.
Oh, good.
At the plant for sure. And what he recognized as he was building the Safe Coat brand was that there was this market for it. He knew all these people in Dallas, and he said there's a lot of people that are poisoned that have let's throw allergies into the mix too.
Okay.
In fact, I tell people now, this is something we'll get into, but a lot of times when the discussion's going on with a contractor, since we're on the subject, the contractor will probably buck a little bit if he hears the term chemical sensitivity, because there's a lot of baggage with that idea. I tell my clients, consumers who are getting ready to engage a contractor, tell them that you have allergies, that your family is allergic, because that resonates on a bigger scale with a lot of people, the word allergy. And it's true. Allergies and chemical sensitivity are very, very linked. So just in terms of discussion with people, to not put people off at the beginning of the discussion.
Right, because people don't want to be chemically sensitive, but lots of people have allergies.
Correct. Right. Yeah. So it's easier to have the discussion. You say, we have people in our family who are allergic. The contractor is going to recognize what that is. Everyone's going to go, oh, yeah, I know what allergies. I got allergies. My family's got allergies. So it just makes that conversation so much easier to have.
Well, are those basically the symptoms when you were talking about exposing some of the canaries, they would, if they had some allergic symptoms, whether it be headache or sneezing or coughing or something like that, then that meant that the chemical was not good for the body.
That's right. Yeah, that's one of our immune system's warning flags that can go up. So that's exactly what it is. So this was revelation, 30, 40 years ago, and recognizing that there was a trend now going in this direction. That's when we started building the brand up and taking one product at a time and replacing it and then moving down the line. So, you look at the website, our website, you see how many products we have. And it was really just demand.
Yeah.
People saying, hey, I like that AFM Safe Coat paint you made. Can you make another product that does this?
Yeah.
And so we took what we knew. We started to narrow down the chemicals that we knew were safe to be around.
Mm-hmm.
I see your puppy in the background there.
Yes, I know. And she's all of a sudden going to start acting. Hold on just a sec. Let me
Okay.
pause this.
All right. You know,
Okay.
switching the subject now to the whole idea of VOCs and the chemistry side of this, real quickly, because it could be a long discussion, but I'll try to make it short. So back in the 70s, with the formation of the Environmental Protection Agency, there was an urgency to cut down on the amount of pollutions that were going into the atmosphere that could break down or create ozone. And the other idea that people probably are more familiar with is smog. So the idea is we want to cut down on smog production, ozone depletion. So we're going to regulate chemicals from different categories and in different industries, and coatings industry is a huge one. So what we're going to do is we're going to establish a list of VOC ingredients. So what are VOC ingredients? So these are chemicals that when they evaporate into the atmosphere and mix with other compounds, basically nitrous oxide compounds, they will form ozone. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to not do that as much as possible. Mm-hmm. So the idea was we're going to list all these VOC ingredients, and there's over 300 of them.
Wow.
And most of them we don't want to be around. 95% of them we don't want to be around. And of course, what this allows us to do is improve our outdoor air quality, which is what happened. I mean, I lived in Los Angeles in the 60s, and I remember going to high school, and some days when we had a smog alert, mm-hmm. smog would be so dense, it would be like a foggy day, literally that thick. And I would come home from school and I could hardly breathe. My lungs were just aching.
Wow. And so that has changed because of these regulations. And so companies are not using
we cleaned up the outdoor air pretty nicely. But as we all know, we spend most of our time indoors.
Yeah.
So what was missing in this equation was, well, what are we doing about the indoor air pollution? And back then they didn't, what are you talking about? Indoor air pollution? Right. But now everyone's aware that there's a problem with indoor air pollution. And of course, this opens up the discussion about all the products that we bring in to pollute the air. So anyways, we've got this long list of VOC ingredients. There's another category of ingredients that kind of sits side by side. However, most people, as the discussion of VOC and not wanting to be around VOC and zero VOC, that discussion has been going on for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And many people have this wisdom that if you have a zero VOC product, you have a non-toxic product. Mm-hmm. There's a problem with that. Mm-hmm. Because there are what's called exempt ingredients, hazardous air pollutants. And there's another list of hazardous air pollutants almost as long as the VOC list. And there is a lot of similarity. You'll see them side by side, same chemical, but there are some chemicals on the hazardous air pollutant list that are exempt on the VOC list.
Why? Why wouldn't they just all be on
because
the VOC
those
list?
Ingredients that are exempt aren't making smog.
Oh, but they are.
It's all about the outdoor regulation. All right. There is no metric for the indoor pollution side of it, except for now this hazardous air pollutant revelation and awareness now. Okay. So we know this happens because people go out, and not trying to do anything except the best they can. They'll buy zero VOC. Mm-hmm. And then they'll bring it into their environment and they'll use it and they'll say, is there something wrong? I'm suffering. We're having a problem here. What is that?
Right.
And so we hear the stories because people have recognized that one of the things that our brand also does, aside from starting safely, is we also can do containment. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a product problem, a Safe Coat product may help to remediate that. We can actually come in and coat over something that you've done and block it. And then that keeps you safe from whatever was off-gassing from that.
Well, so what do you,
What's off-gassing is
yeah.
hazardous air pollutants.
Okay. And
Let me
so
give you an idea, this real visceral idea, but
okay.
a chemical, it's not regulated. Ammonia, acetone, the solvent acetone,
Mm-hmm.
it's not regulated as a VOC. So you can have not those ingredients exactly, but cousins of those ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
On the ammonia side, they're called amines, amines.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use a hazardous air pollutant product and not have to mention it in your zero VOC discussion.
Oh, I
This
see.
is
I
what
see.
gets people confused. And
Mm-hmm.
they have zero, but they're still not feeling exactly right. That's important to know because everyone walks, and the big brands, as I said earlier, the big brands now have zero VOC this, so it's all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think in general, I like the idea that we're kind of raising all boats, the tide's raising all boats here, but
Yeah.
there's still a lot to be careful about and not make some assumptions based upon, the media message that's been going on for so long. Zero is great, zero.
Yes.
Better,
Well,
better, but
better, but not solving the problem quite yet, especially for people who have sensitivities. What
yeah,
about for the people who say, well, I'm not going to be in my house while they're painting. I'll just go stay, but then I'll just go home, in a couple of days.
yeah. Depending on the chemical compounds, they can last for days, weeks, months, and years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and that's kind of the argument you'll hear on the contractor side. A lot of times they'll go, "Hey, listen, yeah, I know it smells down, but don't worry about it. It's going
Yeah.
to go away. Few days, couple weeks, you'll be fine." And
Right.
you can't categorically state that because that's not true because of what we said earlier. Everyone's different. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there might be people who, no problem, I'm okay, it's fine, I'm good. A couple days, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the people who hear that and they think they're going to be fine, but they're not?
Right. And it all depends on your chemical load already that you have in your body
That
and
is
your immune function.
That's right.
So
Absolutely
true.
correct. Where have you been? What path have you been on? You know, with shows like yours and the awareness you're providing for your people and all the different people that are out there in the space now that are talking about how to stay well. It's all about wellness now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Well,
love that.
I love that. You know why I love that? I was just talking to a real estate agent who actually, she's not trying to position herself as a wellness agent necessarily.
Yeah.
She's just trying to actually provide more value to her clients. And she says that, green's been around for a long time. And when you're doing things for the environment, it does make you feel good. But at the end of the day, your family comes first. So if you don't have enough funds to be giving to charity or doing green things, then you won't. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a nice to have. But
Yeah.
wellness is personal, right?
Yeah.
It means I want to be well. I want my family to be well. So people
Yeah.
will do things that are going to benefit them and their families and help them live healthier lives and happier lives, right? Because um, health is wealth, and you need
That's what my
to
mother used to tell me.
exactly. And if you can find ways so that if you have a child that has chronic asthma or chronic allergies and you find a way to help alleviate that, that's gold, right? I mean, you you're getting years back for people and you're helping them live happier. So
Absolutely
it's
right. And you
wonderful.
think about a lot of new parents. They're bringing a new person into the world. And
Hmm.
they want that nursery and their baby to be in the cleanest, safest environment possible. And that's common sense in
Right.
my mind. I mean, that's a no-brainer. We don't have to argue that at all.
Right. Well, and then, but the sad part is we have been kind of brainwashed to think that the smell of Clorox is clean,
Yeah.
right? And so you clean your baby's room with Clorox, it smells quote unquote clean, and you have this baby who's only 12 pounds, where the toxins, per ratio to that baby's body is just so much more impactful than on an adult body's system. So
Yeah.
it's really good to just understand what can we bring into the home that's going to be safer, and if we did buy something that isn't safe, how do we know and what can we do about it? So yeah.
I think, it reminds me that, in a new home or another analogy would be a new car. I
Hmm.
think there's a kind of a psychological component where someone buys a new home and they walk into the new home and it smells, all the
Mm-hmm.
smells, flooring, paint, whatever, and they're going, "Hey, it's a new home, great, we're here,
Yeah. Yeah.
new," right? Same with the car. You buy a new car and it smells like a new car. Hey, yeah, great, fantastic.
Yeah.
And we're just kind of programmed to think great, right?
Yes.
We're not programmed to go, whoa, no, no,
Right.
no, 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 we're just not. So I think that comes into the whole discussion too, a little bit.
Right. Because I mean, when you're a clean smell is free of smell, basically. It's not going to
Correct.
have all of the smells that we have that we've decided are good for us or not good for us. But a clean smell is just void of smelling like anything.
Right. I was on a podcast, listened to a podcast that Andy Pace, Andy,
Mm-hmm.
Andy Pace had. It was with, and I'm forgetting Teresa's name, full name. She calls herself Tease,
Mm-hmm.
Tee. And she said something that I thought made a whole lot of sense. She says, if you look at a product, any product, whether it be a cosmetic or anything you use, and if you see the word fragrance on it,
Mm-hmm.
walk away because
Mm.
there's no regulation to list ingredients with the word fragrance. And you know who set that up? The cosmetic company back in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
It was who's the big cosmetic company?
CoverGirl,
No,
Revlon,
no,
Maybelline.
no, bigger
Uh,
than that. I can't
oh,
remember.
I don't
I wish
know.
I could remember. It'll pop
That's
in
all
my
right.
head.
Yeah.
But they said basically lobbied Congress to say, we don't have to tell people what fragrance means. So so she
Yeah.
said, just if you see fragrance, don't use that product that says fragrance on it.
Well, what people don't realize is they're neurologic, they're
Chanel,
neurodisruptors.
Chanel,
Chanel.
Chanel, Chanel.
Oh,
Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah.
I had it came into my head. I had to say it.
That's okay. But I mean, they're neurodisruptors, they're hormone disruptors, they're hurting your immune, not just your immune system, but they're your your body's ability to relax and calm and your body's ability to heal. It's
Yeah,
disrupting all of that. So
yeah,
I mean, we have so many more autoimmune diseases these days than we ever used to,
right,
right?
right.
And I think it's because of all this toxicity that we have, not only from our food and the preservatives that we're eating on a daily basis, but the stuff that we're bringing into our homes from the furnishings that are sprayed with all of those flame retardants and
Pesticide.
yeah, and then the pesticides outside. So we're getting it from all different angles. So the more you can do to just start to remove some of these toxic things in your home environment and in your food, you're just going to be better off. You're just going to feel better. You're not going
Yeah,
to have symptoms.
there's so many chemicals we're exposed to. It's just there's no
Mm-hmm.
way we can know exactly, and they mix with each other, so we don't know what they're doing when they mix, and we're
Yeah.
exposed to thousands of them all the time. So it's just
Yeah.
as you said earlier, Sheila, and that was right. It's a toxic stew.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to be in the stew.
Well, we
Uh,
all have common sense to know that, like, if I went to a doctor and I was taking 10 different medications,
mhm.
you don't know what that's doing, the side effects that that's going to cause by taking so many different medications. So
Right.
you might not want to do that, but we don't realize that there's so much toxicity in our environment and we've got to do things to kind of help alleviate that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just
That
curious to know, well, back to your products, how do they get rid of these VOCs and how do they help? Is there
yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. We get asked all the time. And what I don't want to say about Vox, I said there are some VOCs that you could be around.
uh-huh.
People go, what do you mean? What VOCs can I be around? I don't have a list in front of me of those because it varies from person to person, but I can tell you that way to connect this is to think it this way. If I had an orange in my hand right now and I
Mm-hmm.
peeled it right here and I was
Mm-hmm.
breathing the citric smell,
Mm-hmm.
that evaporation in the atmosphere is almost 600 grams per liter of VOC.
Oh.
If you go to a pine forest and go out into a pine wood forest and you're breathing the pine air, guess
Mm-hmm.
what? That's hundreds of grams of VOC going into the atmosphere.
Hmm.
I say that because it gives people a sense of, okay, I don't have to be terrified of every damn VOC ingredient in the world. And
Mm-hmm.
here's why I say it, because if you look at my safety data sheets on my website, you're going to see most of my products have a little bit of VOC in them.
Mm-hmm. But
Why is it
there's
there? How is it there? It's there because that ingredient is important for the product to work the way we want it to work. Right? It's a functional reason. That's the reason it's there. If we had a zero VOC oh, by the way, while I'm on the subject, we can use VOC safely. We have zero hazardous air pollutants, zero across the board. So I can have a little bit of VOC in some things, and that's going to be fine for 99% of the population. How do I know? Back to the old days, testing with the canaries. People ask me, do you test on animals? And I go, no, I don't test on animals. I test on people. That's what we do. Yeah. And they think this is a Frankenstein monster scenario here you're talking about. What are you talking about, man? I go, no, it sounds funny, but it's actually in reality, it's kind of true. You know, we had a lot of back and forth. You know, we put something out and they go, oh, no, not good enough. Bring it back to the lab. Tinker, 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 tinker. Go back to them. What do you think now? Better. No, not good enough. Go back to the lab. Tinker, tinker, tinker. Now what do you think? Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So what happens with the brand is, and getting onto the story about how do we solve a problem that's been created accidentally. So the way the Safe Code products seal, they basically, good way to talk about it is like marshmallows. So if you had a bucket of marshmallows and you packed them together, they'd be really tight. There wouldn't be any space in between them, right? So when you apply a Safe Code product over something that's off-gassing, those marshmallows form like a blanket. And those ingredients that are trying to off-gas through them have no place, they can't get through. So we contain. Now, we did a research project some years ago, and it's on our website, on our FAQs links page. It's the formaldehyde release attenuation test. And Andy's a big pioneer of this too, because he has the equipment where you can literally test a surface by surface, to figure out where formaldehyde's coming from. You know, when they do an indoor air quality analysis, they're doing kind of a whole home, whole room ambient air test, which is great. It can tell you what's going on. Part of the problem is where, what surface is the offender? Is it the walls, is it the floor? Where are we getting it? So be able to test the surface has been helpful. So what we did is we did a test where we had MDF. So people know that old days was called particle board. So it's medium density fiber board. It's very ubiquitous in the industry. Cabinets are made with it. It's the structural part, and they put laminates on top. There's a lot of MDF out there. MDF has formaldehyde in it. So what we did is we got a piece of that. We measured it with Andy's little device right on the surface. We got a big high reading. Then we came back with a variety of different Safe Code products, and we sealed it. And then we remeasured it. And we got incredible results in terms of the reduction of formaldehyde. So imagine formaldehyde molecules about the size of a ping pong ball. I'm using kind of generalities here. So formaldehyde is about the size of a ping pong ball, in molecular speaking. Benzene, toluene, phthalates have a much larger molecular structure. So the concept is, if we can contain that little ping pong ball, then all those other big balls aren't going to be able to get through our web either. So that's how we're doing this containment process.
Does it degrade if they can't off gas anywhere and they're just stuck in there, is that okay?
No, they're basically there forever.
Okay.
And over time, over a long period of time, they will eventually decay. So, because people ask a good question, because people go, well, what's going on?
Right.
And is it just sitting there? And if I take your paint off or I do some sanding, I'm going to have it all come back? No, probably not.
Yeah.
Most of the cases, no, you're not going to have a problem with that.
So these days, so many people are getting that luxury vinyl flooring.
Yes.
Right. And so that has a lot of hazardous stuff in it. So if they get something like that, they can just cover it with Safe Coat. Sealant, or should they just not get that?
They should try to find the safest version of that you can. There's a lot of them out there, and you just have to do a lot of reading. There's probably going to be some certifications wrapped around them. Try to do your due diligence and figuring out how safe it is. I tell people, again, back to the sampling thing, if you have any concern, get some of that flooring and bring it home.
Yeah.
Live with it for a few days or a few weeks and see how you feel. Now, of course, people are going to lie. it's a panel this big. I'm talking
Right.
3,000 square feet.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's a much larger comparison. It's what, yeah, exactly. But you got to start somewhere. You got
Right.
to start somewhere. What I do is, and I will admit I'm chemically sensitive and I'm sensitive to carpeting. For example, if I go into a new carpet showroom, I'm not there for 5 minutes and I can't swallow,
Oh, wow.
right? So I can't have carpeting. I just know that. But what I tell people to do in a test is bring it home, smell it. I like to sleep with it. I know it sounds weird, but I put it on
Yeah.
my nightstand and
Yeah.
will sleep with it. So it's right by my head. So I know what's
Yeah.
going on. My wife's extremely sensitive. So we're kind of the canaries in the coal mine. We'll know if we can be around something, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, if unfortunately, I don't make a product for every damn thing, but sometimes you have to go out into the conventional world. And this is going to happen a lot with people with new homes, and because all the reasons, right? What is it? It's more expensive. You said that earlier. It costs a
Hmm.
lot more. My contractor is unfamiliar with it, so he's nervous. It's not available at my local store. I got to wait for it to come across 3 state lines to get to my house. What's that
Hmm.
going to cost?
Hmm.
Those are all the factors that throw this off track, right?
Hmm.
No matter what, I still say, okay, let's just figure you got to go to Home Depot, right?
Hmm.
Whatever they're selling at Home Depot, do your due diligence, pick out the best things you can, bring
Hmm.
home what you can if it makes any sense logistically in your time frame to try to
Hmm.
test it out, make sure
Hmm.
you're okay with it. If you can't, then know that you're going to have this period of time. It could be days, weeks, or months where you're going to have to really manage your air quality.
Hmm.
Now, you and I here in Southern California, man, we are blessed. We can
Hmm.
open it up and we can leave it open all day,
Hmm.
all year.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in Michigan in February, it ain't happening.
Hmm.
So what you've got to do is you got to figure out, how do I manage my indoor air quality as best I can when I can't open it up to fresh air.
Hmm.
One of the things I thought about this morning when I'm thinking about this is when you're doing a home inspection before a purchase, guys are coming out and checking things out. The most important thing is your HVAC system.
Hmm.
What's going on up there?
Hmm.
Right? That's got to be primo. That's got to be super clean,
Right.
because you turn that sucker on and now that stuff's going to be circling around in your air, and you want to make sure you're not bringing polluting your place because your system wasn't where it should be. I
Well,
had a
right.
we had a client call, and they were doing a whole remediation, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
They had done a whole bunch of old stuff, or new paint, new everything, new flooring, everything. They got back into the house and it was all bad. So they came back to us and they said, "Hey, we want to safe coat this, right? Protect ourselves." They brought us all in, did all the coating, and then about 2 weeks later, they called and they said, "It didn't work. It didn't work."
Oh,
And I go,
no.
"What do you mean it didn't work? Tell me what's going on. Tell me what's going on." I said, "What did you do with your HVAC system?" Oh, it turned out that they had been running their HVAC system with the old toxic stuff in there, and they
Oh.
didn't purge it. And so when they turned their HVAC system on, all that stuff that was in the system came back out and got them.
Oh my gosh. So they do, you got to clean that. It'd be great if you had a ventilation system too. So you're bringing fresh air in. I
Yes,
mean, especially if the newer homes are so air sealed tight
yes,
that just
yes,
having an HVAC system isn't necessarily,
yes,
you might
yes.
need something more to get the
They
fresh air
they
in.
called us back after a few weeks. They purged their system. They got it cleaned up, and they called back and said, "We apologize profusely.
Yeah,
It wasn't you. It was what we failed to do." I'm
right.
saying, "Oh man, I'm
So
glad,
thankful.
glad you
Yeah.
discovered that."
Yeah.
Um, okay.
Well, but so here's the dilemma too is, if you are doing your due diligence and your research, they probably aren't listing formaldehyde in the ingredients of the,
No, no, they're not.
yeah.
No, no, they're not. They're not. And they'll say no. And a lot of times you'll see no added formaldehyde.
Oh, okay.
So it can be floating around in there, and it's just
And
like
they'll
it.
use, green labeling and they'll call it
Yeah.
eco-friendly or something, and that's not necessarily meaning that it's healthy for you or that it's
No,
toxic
not
free.
not at all, not at all. And there's a lot of
Right.
certifications out there, and
Hmm.
certifications are fine.
Hmm.
Um, we many years ago we had this scientific certifications, Indoor Advantage Gold certification. We
Hmm.
certified not all of our products, and then through kind of some contractual disagreements we had, they basically, certification programs have to recertify you every year,
Hmm.
because they have to stay in business.
Hmm.
And so we recognized, in the contract that we had with them was basically, we're going to sign up. We're not changing our formulas. They've passed grade. Nothing's going to change. Your metric hasn't changed, and our products haven't changed. So why do we need to keep paying you every year for certification? Well, we understood, but they said, no, you got to pay us. And we said, forget it.
Yeah.
So people go, well, man, what you're telling me is all you're just telling me your talk. Well, I want another party to say that what you're saying is true.
Right.
And I said, well, I'm not going to do it again. I'm sorry. If you need certification, then you need certification. But I can tell you that I've got 35 years of anecdotal experience that tells me that everything I'm saying is true. How do I know it? Because my clients tell me that it's true. And I got people that had to live in a little foil-lined room because they couldn't be in their home until they showed up. We showed up. So, and I don't want to blow my horn too hard about that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where we are with that.
Well, there are tools out there, like you said, that can test the air quality after they use your products. So they can go in and test the flooring and test the walls and test the air.
Yes. So get back to your LVT question. Those finishes are really hard to seal. They're designed to be resistant to all the things that you want it to be resistant to. You spill water on it, you spill wine on it, you spill olive oil on it. You want to be able to clean that up.
Right.
So when they make vinyl, they make it that
Right.
way. And it looks good. I mean, where was I? I was in one of the home improvement stores the other day, and I saw on the end cap they were selling some luxury vinyl tile, and it looked pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And they were selling it on sale. It was only like $4 a foot. I'm like, whoa.
But if you can get wood products for $6 a foot. And so if you were going to get $4 a foot and then have to coat it with the safe coat paint and then still be at risk for toxins, like you might as well get nice regular wood.
Here's another thing that I thought is helpful when people are looking at budgets, right? Because everyone gets on board until the money starts flowing. And a couple thoughts I have there, and it's related to our body. So our biggest organ is our skin. We want to take care of our skin in many, many ways, and everyone's comfortable and familiar with that. Think of your home, the interior of your home, wall, ceilings, and floor as the skin. We want to make sure that at the end of the day, we're taking care of our skins. I say this in the context of budgetary ideas. So a lot of times people are wanting to spend their money, or everyone wants to spend their money wisely. But what people will tend to want to do is they want to do every little possible thing they can do to protect themselves, which I don't necessarily argue with until it gets to the point where we're talking about where are we going to save money? Where are we going to cut back? I say there's ways to cut back early on, but what I don't want you to do is cut back at the end. And that's when we're doing all the decorative stuff. That's when we're painting, we're sealing, we're staining, we're doing all that stuff. Remember, it's your skin.
Well, I think people don't want to spend money on things they can't visibly see. And so if they see that it's the color that they like, doesn't matter what paint it is, it's just, it's the color I like. So they'll pick the cheapest paint, right? Or something in the wall. If it's behind the walls and I can't see it, I'll go with the cheapest option because, you can't see it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I like to frame it a little bit differently, and I frame it in the context of how carpeting sold and how flooring sold by the foot. So I started thinking about that, and I said, well, you can do paint the same way, and everyone thinks it's per gallon, and it is. So premium, eco-friendly coatings in general are going to cost you between $65 to $70 a gallon. That's what we all kind of call. If you look at Benjamin Moore's or if you look at Sherwin-Williams Harmony, if you look at all the big brands and what they're selling for, that's about what you're going to see. Right? Now that's the MSRP. That's if Joe Blow buys it. Obviously contractors get discounts. But the point being is we take that and everyone goes $70 a gallon. Oh my God, it's so expensive. I mean, I'm used to 40.
Yeah.
And so I say, okay, let's change how we talk about it. Let's think of it this way. Think of it like a square foot. So if I take a gallon of paint, which is coverage of 350 square feet in my instance, and I divide $70 by 350 square feet, I'm going to get a square foot number for the paint. And it's going to be about 20 cents. I'm thinking 20 cents a square foot? And I just bought $6 a square foot flooring. Okay, I'm kind of getting what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Let's reframe it. Let's talk about it that way. So let's say we do two coats, 40 cents a square foot. I like to think of it as a kind of a really cool, cheap health insurance in a way.
Well, you just touched something because I think we're all so we're not looking at the long-term costs of things. Everybody just looks at the short-term cost. What is it going to be out of pocket right
Right,
now?
right.
And you're not realizing that the long-term cost of you
Yes,
being sick, or your family just having chronic symptoms and having to go to the doctor all the time and just being unwell, is that worth 10 cents extra for
absolutely. I mean,
per square foot?
you said it perfectly, Sheila. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. What's your health worth, right?
Yes,
Because you may or
exactly.
may not get assistance where you need it, and then you're going to be looking at healthcare expenses that you don't want to look at. So if we
Yeah.
have ways to kind of give ourselves these insurance policies,
Hmm.
it's a cheap way to do it, and it just again just makes good
Well,
sense.
and especially like you said, if you are decorating a child's nursery, or say you're decorating your elderly parents' home
Mhm.
or something like that, or a nursing home for that matter. I mean, you want people who are going to be sensitive to this stuff to be in a safe, clean environment that's not going to make them sick. We're going to be renovating my mom's place
Mhm.
soon, and my sister's in charge, and I'm sending her, the green building supply place, just because my mom's 77 and she's already got an autoimmune, and so she doesn't need to be even though she's excited about the new kitchen and everything, I don't want her to be surrounded by toxins that are going to make her extra sick.
Yeah, yeah, and we're turning Japanese, and what I mean by that is, in the Japanese culture, you live with your parents, you bring them in,
Mm-hmm,
right? And that's
mm-hmm,
changing, I'm sure, because the youth is changing. But it used to be
mm-hmm,
all the way. You had three generations living in one home.
mm-hmm,
You know what's going on in town. We got all this ADU stuff going on, right?
mm-hmm,
City
mm-hmm,
of San Diego's promoting it heavily,
mm-hmm,
and people are moving their parents closer to them so they can
mm-hmm,
watch them, take care of them. Of
mm-hmm.
course, we want to give them a clean environment.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is I had an interview with a doctor, and
Yeah.
he's a physician,
Mhm.
and so it was when he had to live with his parents, and his parents um had some chronic disease. I can't remember what it was, but he had to take extra care to make sure that his disease wasn't getting worse. And that's when he was exposed to all of these home environmental toxins. So,
Mhm.
anyways, he actually, as a physician, is going to go get an interior design certification.
Oh,
And what's
nice.
interesting about that is he wants to create healthy home environments. Um, and he wants to position it for health insurance as like a something you can do for your health, and to get health insurance to pay for some of these design aspects in the home. And I thought, that's brilliant.
It's so great. It's brilliant. It's just like discounting for good driving, right?
Yes,
Your insurance
yes,
company gives you a discount if you're a good driver. Why can't we do that here?
yes, for the home environment, so that you can just
Exactly.
be healthier. I love it. I just
Yeah.
thought that was brilliant, and so I'm following
Well,
him and make sure.
I'm thankful because there's so much awareness now. There's so many people. You're doing it. Andy's doing it. There's hundreds of people who are on the path with us now,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
that's really exciting. I think the future looks really bright in
mm-hmm.
that way. The more education people have, the more awareness they have. It's just going to be better because
I
we all
feel like I know, and I feel like we could keep talking for hours and hours and hours, and maybe I'll
we
just have
could
to
we
have you
could
on the show again, and we'll talk about the myths that we didn't.
yeah
I think we
you know
covered some of them, but
next time we do this, get Andy on too. And
yeah.
when Andy and I get, Andy and I for a long, long time we did a podcast. We co-hosted
Mm-hmm,
the podcast, and now Andy's doing his circle group,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
videos,
mm-hmm,
which is awesome. Every week he's got someone on, but together we kind of riff off each other. Andy
mm-hmm.
will say something, will make me think of something, and together we're pretty dynamic in terms of awareness and communication. So I'd love to come back, and I know Andy'd do it in a heartbeat too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so for anyone who's listening who wants to learn more about you and your company, where can they go?
Yeah, right straight ahead, right to the afmsafecoat.com website. There's a lot of good information. I said, when you're on my homepage, really simply scroll down just a little bit and you'll see this house, cutaway of a house. And it's
Mm-hmm.
got these little glowing balls, right? If you click into one of those glowing balls, you're going to get a cutaway of that room. And it's going to tell you which AFM products are good there, right?
Yeah.
And if you scroll down just a little bit more, you're going to see something called the AFM Quick Spec. And you open up that one-page PDF, and it'll give you a list of the basic things that you would do in a home, and it'll tell you which AFM product, how many coats to do, and what the coverage is.
I love it.
For someone who's trying to get a basic understanding, something you can hand to your contractor too. I think in my emails to you, I was talking about stuff we could talk about. One of the things that I thought about for consumers is to put together, after you do your research, put together your menu of products, right? You hand it to the contractor or the builder and you go, here's my menu. Let's compare it to your menu, right? And we can compare and contrast. And they'll go, well, here's what I use. I use that. And I say, well, here's my substitutions. I want you to think about using these. You can do this comparison stuff early on so that when you're at that point, you're starting to spend the money, everyone's on the same page. They're going, yeah, we understand the product. We know you want them to use them. We understand your health concerns. And by the way, Mr. Contractor, it's better for you too.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be poisoning yourself too long, and then you're going to wake up sick. And you're not going to be able to work anymore. You're going to be on disability, and that's not going to work.
Well, wouldn't it be interesting if one of these contractors gets the bright idea to be the healthy painter?
They're out there. They're
Good.
out there. Because of the generational change that's going on, there's a lot of new guys coming into the business, and they recognize the problem, and they're hearing it more from their clients. Hey, I want you to use these I want to be safe. So you get on board. I tell contractors that are old school, I say, listen, I know you're not going to switch. I know what you do, it's fine. But think about this. Add these products to your toolkit. Just put them in your truck, because someone's going to ask you. And if you say, duh, they're going to go to someone who says yes. Yeah. And you're not going to get the business. That's not going to go on very long before you're struggling.
Well, and times are changing. 79% of people say health and wellness is one of their top priorities. So the more they learn that there are these options available, the more they're going to want them. And that also brings me, I mean, before we go, just to touch on real estate agents, because I do help them expand their knowledge and network so that they can position themselves as agents who just can help their clients further and educate them on a healthy home. And I'm trying to encourage them to expand their network so that they can meet healthy home experts like yourself and be able to recommend them to their clients. So are there any kind of suggestions you have for realtors who are listening about how they can help their clients?
I do. There's an architect. Her name's Paula Baker Laporte. And many years ago, she wrote the book Prescriptions for a Healthy House. She just came out with her 4th edition. Just came out later part of last year. I recommend everybody to get it. It goes through everything from stem to stern about building a healthy house, and it gives you resources at the back.
Great.
So it's about a half an inch thick, but in terms of kind of the Bible for understanding these things, her book is excellent. It's on Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon. I think it's like $60. It's well worth the expenditure to get it. It's a great way to just get a good education about all the options. And then, of course, going to all the different programs, your podcast and all the podcasts that are out there to listen to. Again, the Non-Toxic Environments podcast that Andy hosts, and the show that he's got, which is open to the public. It's got a chat, so you can listen and you can chat in there. It's excellent. It's just a good way to hear a lot of good people talking about all these exciting things. And let me throw this other idea out, because I'm very excited about it, and it's going to have an impact on the real estate business. 3D printed homes.
Yes. What are your thoughts about that? Toxic or not toxic?
I'm kind of a geek for this stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of find it very exciilerating. One of my friends calls it toothpaste homes, because the way they build it is they run the concrete on a big, it squirts it along like this. It does look like toothpaste, but you can stucco that over and put lime plaster and American clay on it and make it look flat. But to me, it's a game changer. I mean, in certain areas, it's a huge game changer. It's never going to be. I don't see it being in the luxury home category. I definitely see it in the low income home category, because the cost savings is incredible.
Yes, they're doing them for ADUs too.
Yeah, ADU, absolutely. Icon is one of the big players. They're in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Icon is building a couple projects right now. They're doing one north of Austin called Wolf Creek, and they're building
Mm-hmm.
a whole with Lennar. They're building a whole community of 3D printed homes, and then they're
Wow.
doing another project in West Texas in a place called Marfa, Texas, and they're
Mm-hmm.
building something called El Cosimo. El Cosimo.
Mm-hmm.
And the El Cosimo 3Ds are cylindrical.
Oh,
Cool about printing because you can print different. It doesn't have to be orthogonal. It doesn't have to be this.
yeah.
It can be round.
Yes.
Very interesting. Very
Well,
interesting.
so then it just probably depends on the medium they're using to do the printing, whether it's toxic or not, or is it
Well, it's basically, yeah, it's an interesting question. I think they're basically using poured concrete,
okay?
right?
Yeah.
Much like you do a swimming pool with gunite, you spray it with
Yes.
a sprayer, kind of same kind of a concept.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you deal with, so what are we going, what's going on there? We have all kinds of issues. What's the thermal properties of this? I think what
Mm-hmm.
they do is they actually build a cavity. They have
Mm-hmm.
two toothpick lines or toothpaste lines going down one side, and there's an insulation cavity on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
is one idea. So yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting evolution. Um,
It's just
there's
more options. I mean,
yeah,
I
there's
do just like how you had said when you're talking to the painters and they're resistant to change.
yeah,
I think realtors can be the same way because if you open up this spectrum to healthy home, oh
yes,
no, is it going to cause my closing to not close on time? Am I
right.
going to
How do
scare
I
some
insure it?
sellers?
How do I get it
Yeah.
insured?
And I
Right.
don't want to scare people where I feel like you're not trying to scare anybody and you're not, of course not trying to delay anything. It's about educating people that there are these options. And certainly if you have clients who you already know have allergies, have chronic conditions, wouldn't it be great if you said, hey, you know what, this is something that you can do to improve your indoor air quality. And I know someone who can test your air. I know
Yeah.
someone who can, and oh, it comes back bad. I know these products that you can
Yes.
use to help mitigate that.
Yes.
I mean, that's all it is. And so if you have these tools and have these this larger network of healthy home professionals in
Yep.
your toolkit, I mean,
Yep.
you're just going to be a better agent. You're already a connector for all these things. So
Already a better agent, and your client's going to love that. They're really,
yeah,
first and foremost, you're thinking about their personal health. And
yes.
no one's going to say, no, I don't want that. I don't want to live a healthy home. No, I don't. They're not going to say it. They're just
Right,
not. Right.
right.
So it's not like we have to talk about it very long. And
Yeah.
if the agent comes in and says, I'm aware, I've even got a little list of the things that I feel real comfortable with. Why? Because I researched them for you.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a lot of legwork already.
Mm-hmm.
And they can say, whoa, what is it? And you can go here. And you can give
Mm-hmm.
relative pricing. You say, this is going to cost you at the conventional store versus this. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
cost you a little bit more, but here's why I think it makes a lot of sense. Take it for what it's worth.
Well, and think about the different kind of conversation you can have when you're intaking a new client, when you're asking them, so does anyone in your family have any chronic conditions or allergies? No real estate agent is ever asking that question. And you
No,
ask that question and they say,
yeah,
yes. And you say, okay, so there's some tools and resources that I have. So when we're looking at homes, we'll just pay attention to
yeah,
certain things that can cause problems
right,
in that area, and
right.
I have resources and solutions for that. I mean, what? No, nobody's bringing that into the real estate conversation. So if you do, you're already differentiating yourself.
Well, and you know how it is. It's referral. It is
Mm-hmm.
referral business. My
Mm-hmm.
my best buddy here in San Diego, known him for 40 years, is a very successful realtor. He has not advertised
Mm-hmm.
in years because all of his business is referral because he's taking care of his clients. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're talking about here. Taking
Mm-hmm.
care of the client, understanding their concerns, right? Understanding how to manage the financial side of that. We're going to make
Mm-hmm.
some compromises. This is agree. We're going to do that. We're going to make sure we protect our skin. At the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to cut back there because that's the stuff I tell people. If you can put your finger on it, you can lick it with your tongue. You want it to be safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I was just actually, I mean, we can keep talking, but I
Yeah.
had someone on my podcast who was selling GOT certified rugs, and she said these interior designers are then spraying them with Scotch Guard so that,
Uh,
the little kids are rolling all over the ground and
mm,
they're getting those toxins, and so she just
mm,
basically said, you know, people don't know how toxic their homes are, but designers should. And I thought, people
right.
don't know that, but realtors should also. That was
They
kind of
should.
my thought.
They absolutely should.
They
There's
really
so many,
should.
your resource and all the other ones we've alluded to, they're out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's really no reason why everyone can be smarter.
Mm-hmm.
right? There's no
Right.
reason we can't be smarter. We can be
Right.
smarter. So
Right.
so many great people. Well, we just talked our ears off, didn't we?
We did. Thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate you so much. And we will go to your website. I'll put the link in the description so people can get to it straight away. Thank you
That's
so
great.
much.
Thanks. Let's do it again sometime too. I'm excited.
For sure. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you learned something new that will inspire you to think about your branding and how you can market yourself a little differently. If you enjoyed this episode, then you're going to love what I have for you because you don't need to wait to go get extra certifications or to grow and expand your network to get started attracting those new leads right now. You can simply begin by talking about wellness real estate trends and what you've learned on this podcast with others. I mean, this is pretty interesting stuff that no one has heard about, and I have all the tools that can make it even easier for you. Wellness Real Estate Magazine is a brand new wellness lifestyle magazine, and it's the only magazine that brings health and home together. We educate readers on industry trends and how to create a healthier home environment, written by industry experts around the country. And we have 3 covers to choose from: Wellness RE, Healthy Home, and Wellness at Home, so you can easily find one that aligns with your unique brand and messaging. These magazines are the perfect done-for-you tools that help you not only stay top of mind, but they educate and engage your audience, which positions you as an industry expert. Differentiate yourself and grow your brand the easy way. Learn more at healthyhomemedia.com.